Hi, everybody. How are you doing today? It is Monday at 2:32 p.m. on September 26th. The price of Bitcoin is 19,154, down. Not really a thrilling number at the moment. The price of Ethereum is $1,327. Everything's down. It's been an ugly year. Let's be honest. Not just the past few days, weeks, or months. It's been an ugly year. I'm coming up on a year of running this channel. Did you know that I started this at basically the top of the market? My first upload was in November, very near the absolute top of the market. But I'm also coming up on 100 videos in 1 year of doing this. So that's pretty cool. Let's get into it, shall we? Let's dive into the topics. Before we do that, a little joke about Bitcoin fundamentalists. This is from Jameson Lopp, quintessential Bitcoiner, and Maxi. What do we got here? The fundamentalist Bitcoiner is into red meat, nuclear family, guns, cold storage. They've got a cold card here with their micro SD cards. Twitter, the Bitcoin Standard by Safety Namus. And this last one with the priest took me a second to figure out. That is cast iron. That's right. Bitcoin culture extends out to not just what you eat, but how you cook it. Red meat on a cast iron stove. I don't like to call myself a fundamentalist, but this is pretty accurate. It lines up largely with what I view and live and see in the world. So, can't say he's wrong. Moving on to other things, here's Bitcoin being generated, being powered by harmful methane emissions. Methane that would have otherwise just gone out into the world and caused greater greenhouse gases being burned instead of being flared off for nothing. It's powering a generator to run Bitcoin miners. This should be happening everywhere, all over the world. Everywhere there is excess methane emissions, this should be going on. This is what people mean when they say that Bitcoin could go carbon negative. It's offsetting existing carbon emissions by using those for energy. Pretty cool. I always love to see that. To the price, Bitcoin has performed a weekly close below the black level. Here's the black level, right? So that's a number that's been notable, especially this year. I'm not sure we took much note of it at the end of 2020 when the price was rising. There was kind of a stutter step there, if you'll notice, right here in that first circle. There was some resistance as the price was trying to go above that level, but then we shot past it and went way past it. Now we're back at that level and we keep bouncing off of it. It's been acting as support so that the price doesn't go any lower. So from Rect Capital, BTC has performed a weekly close below the black level. This level has figured as support since mid-June 2022. So now we are officially below that black line, which means we don't have as much support. And in the macroeconomic picture, things are looking really ugly right now. And the price of Bitcoin could, in fact, go much lower. That said, if we're not at the bottom, we are darn near. From Joe Burnett, it has been 100 days since Bitcoin hit a new low, and most of the world thinks it is dead. Just bottom activities, just things that we do while the market's at the bottom. From Jesse Lowry, I don't know Jesse, I don't follow him, but this is somebody, maybe I should follow him. Why not? I'm not stingy with my follows, really. I bring this up because it's a thought that I have had many times as well. I can say that I expect one Bitcoin to equal $1 million in the 2030s, but I have no idea what that means in purchasing power. So, Bitcoin is worth $1 million, but how much is a dollar worth? What can you actually buy with that? Maybe there's, I don't know, should we be measuring this in Big Macs? I don't even like Big Macs, but there's a Big Mac index to measure currency value. If you haven't ever seen that, it's pretty interesting. Go ahead and Google it, Big Mac dollar index. And it shows you what things are worth measured in Big Macs, if I understand correctly. It's been a long time since I've looked at it. Didn't mean to go there. From Bitcoin, Bold Bitcoin, the Bitcoin credit card. Bitcoin monetary policy for the next 114 years in one pick. This is the issuance of Bitcoin over time. You can see that it goes lower and lower and lower. It started at 50 Bitcoin with each block issued, then 25, then 12.5, then 6.25. And now we're at 3.125. Is that where we currently are? No, we are currently at 6.25. That's what it went to in 2020. The next happening in 2 years will be to 3.125. And as with exponential growth, exponential drop-off is those numbers get real small real fast, even though it only happens every 4 years. The tail emissions on Bitcoin are going to be very small. Some people think this is going to be a real problem. I don't have an opinion on that. Maybe it is a real problem. Maybe we need to talk about that. If you're more informed about this or educated or have an opinion, let me know down in the comments. I'd be very curious to dive deeper down that rabbit hole, but it's not one I've had time to address. I can say, I've noticed this myself, but also the numbers bear it out, that Bitcoin is becoming less volatile. Bitcoin is dipping less each time. So you could draw a line from that lower left to the top right where we are right now. I say top right, far right. It's not at the top. But that indicates that our drops are less by a percentage from the all-time high every time we have these bear markets. It is slowly becoming more stable, which is interesting because fiat money is becoming less stable. This is the Great Britain pound against the US dollar. A sharp drop-off. Now, in fairness, look at the numbers on the far right side. It went from about 1.08 to 1.0351. I cannot tell you proportionately whether that is as dramatic as it looks, right? It looks dramatic for sure. How deeply impactful is that in actual commerce? I don't know. But it is what people are talking about right now. The Bank of England, the dollar, the pound is losing value rapidly against the dollar. Funny enough, Nayib Bukele is trolling them. He tweeted on December 27th, 2021, "I'm really concerned about Bank of England printing money out of thin air." I am sure this is a response to something that the Bank of England said to him, that they were really worried about Nayib Bukele in El Salvador buying Bitcoin and how it was issued out of nothing. Well, the game's afoot, friends. Nobody's had the last laugh yet, but Nayib Bukele is having the most recent laugh. Told you, Bank of England. From Sven Heinrich, again, not somebody that I follow, but notable statement and one that I've thought myself. You know, we've reached a unique time in history when Bitcoin suddenly is less volatile than fiat currencies. From Bitcoin Lebowski at Dude Lebowski. So all fiat collapses into USD before the USD collapses into Bitcoin. Should be interesting to watch. This is the theory of hyper-Bitcoinization, that Bitcoin ultimately eats up all the other currency and money value in the world, right? Value will still be stored in hard assets, and Bitcoin is one of those hard assets because it's a hard asset that acts as money and increasingly acts as functional currency with the Lightning Network, it will take that role relative to fiat currencies. Visualizing that, here you go. Those who sought refuge in the pound are now seeking refuge in the dollar. Without understanding, they're repeating the same mistake. They're just going from one fiat currency to another. One piece of money that was declared into existence by a small room of people in suits to another money that was declared into existence by a small group of people in suits. Bitcoin is hard money because the rules don't change. They were set in stone. They were locked in. They do not change easily, and they probably won't change. This is a criticism of Bitcoin, that it is relatively unchanging on the L1. I think that's fantastic. We've built a pretty robust internet based on underlying protocols that have not changed a great deal over the past 50 years. I would like to see money do the same thing. Bitcoin was a synthesis of a lot of different things that had already been developed. This is from Documenting BTC. It took 40 years of development and research to create Bitcoin. And Satoshi Nakamoto's genius was to take these various technical inventions, these technical developments, and turn them into what we know as Bitcoin. Nick Szabo, in 1998, wrote Securing Property Titles with Owner Authority. And who else do we have? Cyber Cash was an experiment in 1994. Adam Back invented Hashcash in 1997. Nick Szabo wrote in 1997 that formalizing and securing relationships on public networks. These were all works in cryptography and finance and monetary innovation that led up to the invention of Bitcoin in 2008. Hal Finney in 2004, reusable proof of work. Whoever Satoshi was, they knew all of this. They'd seen the prior art, and they synthesized it into a functional system. This is why Bitcoin was so surprising for the people who first saw it and recognized it as a powerful invention. I I made a documentary, if you haven't heard, called Life on Bitcoin. In that documentary, we interviewed a guy named Dan Kaminsky. Dan sadly passed away a few years ago, but he was one of the handful of the world's most foremost security researchers and experts. He was on the ICANN, the group that manages the URL domains for the whole world. He was one of the handful of people who held a key to keep that system secure. Anyway, Dan Kaminsky says when he first learned of Bitcoin, he thought, well, this is going to go up in flames immediately. And he set about trying to break it himself. And his first attack didn't work, and then his second attack didn't work, and his third, fourth, fifth attack didn't work. And after a couple of weeks of trying to break the thing and finding no way to do it, he realized there might be something here. This Bitcoin thing might actually work. And he was right. It is incredibly robust. It is very hard to change. Let's talk about the history preceding Bitcoin's invention. This is from Adam Singer, somebody that I follow on Twitter, who I'm casually internet friends with. If you don't follow Adam, he's a good one to follow. He's a fun guy. Go give him a follow. He says, in the 1960s, they predicted in the U.S. we'd have 30-hour work weeks, month-long vacations, and buggy, bulky computers. We have 60-plus hour work weeks now, no vacations, and many have 24/7 financial anxiety, but we have much better computers than predicted and people complaining everyone needs to work more. This is Walter Cronkite in a video from 1963, can't remember, talking about the things that would come in the future. Leisure was often predicted. 4-day work weeks, 3-day work weeks, reduced hours, lots of vacation. Somehow that hasn't happened. Isn't that strange? Why are we working more all the time now? I retweeted this and I said late stage fiat currency because I think so many of the things that people call, basically everything that people call late stage capitalism, what they really mean, what they don't realize is that this is late stage fiat currency. When your money, the thing that is meant, it is invented explicitly and explicitly to store value, when that thing is carefully engineered to slowly lose value by the central bank, there's some real stuff going on. I want to use vulgar terms, but I'm not going to. There's some real shady business going on, that they're slowly leaking the battery that is money, and they're doing it on purpose. It's engineered to do that. And I think we've been swimming in that for so long that we do not realize the downstream effects of having money that slowly leaks value. Nobody wants that to happen to them individually. Of course not. You don't want your money to slowly lose value. I don't want that. The people who are members of the central bank, the Bank of England or the Federal Reserve in the United States, no individual wants that to happen to their money. No. They just theorize that in aggregate, over time, this is a positive thing. 2% inflation will compel people to spend their money and drive the economy. Well, what we've gotten from that is the logical outcome of people constantly spending their money, never saving their money, not enough, going into deep debt to spend more money, to buy tchotchkes and crap that they don't really want, that's poorly manufactured, because that business needs to drive revenue because they can't save money. There's a cascade of downstream effects that I don't think we have come to terms with at all, not even begun to. The closest I've seen is Jeff Booth's book, The Price of Tomorrow, where he touches on that a bit. It's not even the main focus of what he's written. Here's another video. It was too much trouble for stores to accept credit cards in 1972. This is a video from 1972 talking about credit cards, this strange new invention, a little plastic card that you would carry with you that acts as money. It caught on quicker in the United States than it did in the UK. But what a strange financial invention, the credit card. Henry Ford, 100 years ago, proposed something he called energy currency to replace gold. Ford understood that energy is something that you want to store, and money is the means of doing that. That sound, I don't know, vaguely familiar? Does that sound like proof of work a little bit? Here's another example. In 1967, R. Buckminster Fuller predicted a new money. Quote, I'll talk about something that would be one of the realizations of, by 2018, a realistic scientific accounting system of what is wealth. Wealth isn't the gold of pirates. Wealth is energy. This is Buckminster Fuller talking about how real wealth is having stored energy. And that is what sound money is. That's what sound money really does, right? It's a means of storing energy, energy that can create things, so products, energy that can buy other people's efforts, right, to save you time, energy that can buy other people's brain power, also saving you time, energy, time. All of these things are wrapped up in the invention of money. And there have been a handful of people who have genuinely, throughout the history of money, have realized that there's something about money that has to do with time and energy. This is a fun one. This is celebrating Bitcoin reaching $111, a new all-time price back in 2013. I remember this. I was around at that time. I was watching the price of Bitcoin, and this was a historic moment when it happened. It was pretty exciting. Bitcoin basically had two rallies in 2013. It rallied at the beginning in spring, and it rallied again at the end. At the end of 2013, it went to about $1,200, which was mind-blowing, just totally mind-blowing. Because earlier that year, it had done this. It had gone to 111, and that itself was pretty historic. Here is Milton Friedman, the economist, and he is talking about money and how a new form of money will come about. Let's listen to what he has to say.
Major forces for reducing the role of government. And the one thing that's missing, but that will soon be developed, is a reliable e-cash, a method whereby on the internet you can transfer funds from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A. So that I think that
reliable e-cash that you can use to transact directly one party with another without using a counterparty, without using a third party, and you don't have to know each other previous. Sound familiar? These men were predicting Bitcoin, right? It had its precedence in prior invention, prior technological breakthrough, but also just the theory of how money should work and how better money, improved money would work. This is economist Friedrich Hayek talking about money and how it should be divorced from the state. How money tied to government was ultimately bad money, inferior money. They locked it into place. They defined specifically what money had to be, and then they didn't let any innovation happen to make better money, sounder money, harder money. And he proposes that any government money has ultimately been a bad thing. Given enough time, it's an ugly, ugly thing. Before Bitcoin, I never even questioned that. Money was just something that the government made, right? It is only Bitcoiners that I've ever seen who have asked the question, what is money? And usually it's Bitcoin that gets them to ask that. If somebody is sincerely interested in answering that question, they are well on their way to becoming a Bitcoiner. Honest to goodness. I don't see another outcome for that line of inquiry. What is money really? Well, it should be independent from the state, according to Friedrich Hayek. It'll probably have something to do with peer-to-peer cash on the internet, according to Milton Friedman. According to Buckminster Fuller, it's energy stored somehow. Henry Ford said it was energy currency, similar sentiment. Who else? Who else said this kind of stuff? Oh, and one criticism is that Bitcoin is too difficult to understand, that it'll never catch on because it's too complex. Okay, valid. Can you apply that same logic to your own current money? Do you understand how the money in your bank account works, or how a payment processor works? Here's a diagram. I sure don't understand it at all. There are way more lines and different parties involved there than I would have imagined for something as simple as money. But this is an invention. It is an intersubjective reality. And if we get at what we're trying to really build, what we're trying to get it to accomplish, we can build that better than what the legacy system has been. Because here's a hint, the legacy system is not simpler, and it is certainly not sounder, harder money. This is funny. I was looking into all of this, like what is money? How does conventional money work? How do payment systems work? And I remembered that I actually made a video years ago. This is from a part-time gig I had at a website called top10reviews.com. And 12 years ago, here's me in the top left corner doing a video about great websites you should know about. I was trying to find the video where I try to explain payment processors. And to do that video, I had to go researching and figure out how payment processors worked. And I never did. I never figured it out. I did make the video explaining it, but I didn't understand what was coming out of my mouth. I made the video explaining how payment processors work. First, it goes to this party, and then it's checked by this group, and then it goes back here, and then it's cleared over here. I never actually understood it. I just had a deadline, and so I got a video out. This, it turns out, Top 10 Great Websites You Should Know, this is the oldest video in extent on the Top 10 Reviews YouTube channel, which is funny. I was there 12 years ago. It's been a while. Telling people about things like Pandora and Hulu and Etsy back when those were new and interesting. Here's another one, another man who predicted Bitcoin in a way. Ron Paul. Ron Paul, the longtime critic of the Federal Reserve, longtime proponent of hard money like gold. He had this article in 2009 that said, "Let the dollar prove itself." Money should be separated from the state. Money should be a thing that people get to decide what they want to use and how they want to use it. And the government shouldn't be laying down strict laws about what money is and how it gets used, because they're just doing that to concentrate and hold their own power. There's such a power in creation and control of what money is. And that is slipping right now. I realized recently that I've been reading several books. In fact, I've got one on my desk over here. Hold on, I'm going to go grab it. This one showed up over the weekend. Industrial Society and Its Future by one Theodore John Kaczynski. Does that sound familiar? Do you know what this book is? Let me transition back to the one shot rather than the split screen. Theodore John Kaczynski is Ted Kaczynski, better known as the Unabomber. This is the Unabomber Manifesto. True story, I accidentally ordered 2 of these on Amazon. Would you like a copy? I can send it to you. It's sitting at home. I realize that the books I've been reading lately are all more or less about the end of society as we know it, the end of the world, right? The network state, the sovereign individual, industrial society, and its future. Why am I reading the Unabomber Manifesto? Well, a great many technologists have noted that Ted Kaczynski was a genius, undoubtedly, brilliant mind, and they don't disagree at all with his diagnosis. His diagnosis was that technology was going to have some very, very ugly outcomes for humanity. He wrote this years ago, way before the problems we've been having with Facebook destabilizing democracy, etc. That's a whole topic that we could go into another day, but obviously the internet has done huge things to our society that we cannot undo, and we don't know how to tap the brakes, and we're struggling severely to try to right the ship and point it in a healthier direction. A lot of technologists have noted that Theodore John Kaczynski was right in his diagnosis. Where he was wrong was in his prescription, right? Wantonly ending the lives of people in a violent fashion through a male explosive campaign. Not a great way to fix the problem. I have ideas on how to fix the problem. Maybe I'll address those in a future video. In fact, I really should. I should spend time making that video because I think there are some fundamental changes we could make that, while challenging, would not be impossible, that could dramatically improve our relationship to our technology. So it's not all Black Mirror, end of the world, doomsday stuff. All right. That's what I got today, friends. I got to go. It's been fun. Let me know down in the comments what you would like to talk about in the future. We'll hit it in a future video. Thanks. Peace. Go outside, touch some grass. Tell your loved ones that you love them. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and we'll talk again in the future. Bye.